Hi guys, hope everyone's well. This is the story of the surfboard fanatics OCD mission to make the perfect mid-length for himself. As you know, I've been through a few mid-lengths recently, and as you probably also know, I have the ability to make my own boards. I wouldn't go as far as calling myself a shaper, but I'm kind of like a backyard shaper hacker, really. So here we are. Anyway, this is my culmination of everything I've gone through with the last few mid-lengths I've had. Basically, if you've watched any of my reviews, I'd sort of given up on trying to buy things for quite a long time, and my abilities dwindling. So I have a Sedana Piggy, which has been fantastic, and I've like, that goes amazing as a single fin, and I've always tried to outdo or get something similar to that, or like, you know, in my head I'm like, well, if I just had a little bit less nose, or I just had this, and I put some quad fins in that, and it doesn't ride as good as a quad fin as a single fin. Then I had the Seaside and Beyond, which I really like, but I think the board is set up to be ridden with those Machado quads that are designed for it, and I've never really got on with those, which is really annoying because everyone else loves them. And I think the fin positions, the back fins seemed very far back to me. Then I've had like other boards where it's a nice mid-length, but the volume's been wrong, or it's been designed for a single and side bites, and the quad's an afterthought, but the quad doesn't actually work that well. Then I got to the Firewire Sunday, which I absolutely loved, but I just really don't get on with twin fins, and that wasn't as drivey as the Sedana as a single fin. So yeah, I've sort of decided I was getting sick of buying boards that are really expensive brand new, and I took the risk of making my own version of everything rolled up into one, which is kind of risky, because as a backyard shaper, trying to repeat a shape from shapers that are famous, that you know accurately. I mean, you can measure and check things and make your own template and do a version of all day long, but you only need to get something wrong or chase some lines around and you've completely messed it up. So yeah, anyway, this is my own board, and so far I'm absolutely delighted with it. It's just had its second top coats, filler coats, hot coats, whatever everyone likes to call them. So it's a little bit soft still, so I'm just going easy and putting the gloves on so I don't put fingerprints or make any horrendous marks on it. But so this is 7.0, 21 3/4 and 3 inches thick. It's kind of rockered very similar to the Sunday. The outline is a little bit like the Sunday, but I've widened the tail out and widened the width a little bit. I think I might have added a little bit to the nose as well. And the foil's a little bit thinner, and then this board's going to be a little bit heavier too, because obviously I'm not pro level glassing like the Firewire guys, and I'm also not looking to make too light a glass job or scrimp on materials. But, like, you know, I'm not going to make a helium lightness of board, no matter how, you know, I'm just not good enough to do that. So this is a PU blank and epoxy resin, as I normally do, and on this occasion I was going to just go quad, but I've gone for a slider box and a quad setup. So again, I was frustrated with some of the mid-lengths, because I noticed that 310 mils from the tail seems to be the back of most side bites, possibly even a bit more. I've just got that skin dog over that's even a little bit further up. So they can be a compromise quad. So if you didn't want the board to be a single fin, and you didn't want the board to be a single fin with side bites, I want this to be a quad. And then I thought, well, you might as well give yourself the option of a single fin, because I actually like the way single fins ride on certain occasions as well. So basically, this is intended to be a quad or a single fin, a bit like the Sunday is designed to be a twin or a single fin. It's not really completely suited to side bites, but I could still ride a single with side bites. But for me, I just wanted a quad, and then I wanted to give myself that single fin option. And if you wanted to as well, you can get like an overhang fin, or you could get something in the back that would basically mimic a thruster. But I'm kind of a purist. I was going to be whole 100% quad, but then I thought, well, I'll go quad and I'll stick a slider box in as well, because if it happens to ride really good and I like it, then maybe I don't need another, it might knock out another board out on my quiver. So yeah, that's the long ramble. So as you can see, we have got pretty nice rocker, plenty of thickness in the foil. It's not too rockered, it's not too flat either. The rail thickness is really nice. I've sort of brought it down to, you know, it's pretty chunky, but it's actually, the rail's positioned quite nicely. Like the actual rail engagement in the water is kind of like probably low, maybe a little bit lower volume than Sunday, but pretty similar. And I've just gone fairly standard. It's just running like a single concave through to here, and then it rolls off into a V off the tail with a double here, and I kind of like those. I quite often go like a long and very aggressive V double, but on this I was like, just keep things sensible and mellow. So this board is kind of like, it's kind of like the two boards that I took the main inspiration from. Basically, the one was a Sunday, and I also took some other elements that I quite liked of the over. So it's basically, this is really basically a Sunday with a bit wider tail, a bit wider outline. The rock is very similar. The thickness is quite similar, but it's been a little bit more foiled in the tail. There's a lot of thickness in the Sundays under your back foot. So I've kept the nose pretty similar and just refined the tail out a little bit. As you say, Futures fins. And I decided to make my life difficult again and go for a full colour tint job. So I ended up with, like, you got there. So let me go through the glass schedule. So it was quite a lot of work, to be honest. I probably should have just gone red on red, but so I ended up doing. It's probably not even the right way to do it. Someone will probably tell me I've done it backwards or something, but whatever. I did. There's a 6 ounce. There's a 6 ounce here in the blue. So I did that first, and then there's a 4 ounce white for here. So the intention was, this is where you stand, so I'll put plenty of glass on there, and then you don't really stand on the nose, so I lighten the glass a little bit to keep the swing weight down in the nose. Now for the colour, I probably should have gone for a 6 ounce in the nose as well, so I had to do this patch and trim it out, this patch and trim it out, and then I did the bottom with a 6 ounce patch around the fins and a 6 ounce on the bottom. And then I came back over to the top and I did a full 4 ounce over the whole lot and wrapped it round. So, and then I had to pin line it with, that's a resin pin line as well. So it's like a lot of work in it, but it's come out really well. Like whilst I was in the middle of it doing it, I was like, oh, because these colours are like really vibrant too. I was like, oh, did I go a bit too far? And I was like, kind of making fun of myself. I was like, oh, I can always sell it to Captain America. Captain America, if not, it's a bit of a red, white, and blue Captain America board. So yeah, haven't ridden it yet. Got to finish it off, but see, as you can see, nice outline, bit more width in the tail than the Sunday, because the Sunday was kind of, it was really good in some ways, but it's like, as a twin when it was small, I quite enjoyed it, and then as a single when it was bigger, I enjoyed it. But if you get caught out with the single when it's smaller, it wasn't really good, and if you get caught out with the twin when it's bigger, I wasn't enjoying it. So it's kind of like, I just, one of those with a Sunday with a quad fin, or a quad fin and a slider box, or even a single and side bites would be all right. But again, I saw, you know, some people put the single and side bites, but like, I don't get that. The side bites are way too far back to be side bites. They're almost in line with a single fin. That makes no sense to me at all. So yeah, that's my own version. So foil's really nice. I'm really happy with the foil and the rocker. Obviously this is a chunky board. It's supposed to be a chunky board. Say it's 7.0. 21 3/4 and 3 inches thick, and I reckon it's probably going to come in at about 50 to 52 litres. It's probably pretty close on 50, I'd say, and obviously, like with my glass in schedules, it's going to be a little bit heavier, so it's probably going to feel around the 50. Say I've got the over that's 47, and that's like, it can be a little bit harder to get in than I perhaps hoped, and then the Sunday felt like it probably had if anything, plenty, if not maybe a little bit too much volume. So I'm so happy with the way this has turned out. Everything on the foil and rocker went really well. Thanks to my buddy Sam at Manana Surfboards, or Manana Surfboards as it's supposed to be pronounced. He's another local shaper, and he'd let me borrow his bay and let me use his. I sold a lot of my tools, so he let me use some of the tools and hooked me up with some glass and stuff, and I sorted them out. So, and helped me out with it. Just so nice to have someone just to bounce things off. Like, what do you think of the colour? Should I do the glass schedule this way? So yeah. That's about it. I'll come around and whip you through the concaves quickly. But yeah, that's ready to be finished, sanded, and we can get her in the water. And I can't wait, because it's honestly, if this was on the shelf, I would buy it. Which is kind of funny. It's like I've just spent a lot of money on that over, and I can honestly say, after having the Sunday, if this was on the shelf next to the Sunday and the over, and I saw the fin setup I wanted, and the thickness was similar, and the rocker was similar to the Sunday, I'd buy it. So yeah, so I'm happy, and it's obviously cost me a lot less. It's cost me time and energy and skin and bone, but yeah, it's cost me a lot less than buying the boards that are what they're costing at the modern price. The materials and stuff are getting ridiculous now, so it's very expensive to buy and build at retail. Like, I would say, if I was to walk down into the local board builder supplies, Sedana, this and the cloth and the resin and the fin boxes and then all the consumables you need and everything else, I think cost would be like 700 probably. And then you got to spend probably, I put 40 hours work into this, including like designing all the template up and hot coats and sanding and colours and all the rest of it. So it's a lot of work. I'm really proud, and it's nice to be back to having something that when I'm out riding, I really hope it goes really well and as well as it looks, because it's like, it's my own and I made it as well. There's really something special to that. So yeah, if you are interested in making boards, Jay at Sedana actually does a learn to shape class, and I think that's pretty reasonable. I think he charges you probably a bit more than he charges you for a board, but not much, and he teaches you to shape it, and then he'll glass it all for you, so you don't really have to do, and he's got templates and everything ready, so you don't have to do the, I won't say complicated, but it's like, there's more and more into it once you get into the glass. Plus if you're glassing with polyester and stuff, it's like, it stinks and it's bad for you. I mean, everything's bad for you, but it's like, you don't want to be putting polyester resin down anywhere in your house, because it's just going to smell like you've just coated your exposed aggregate drive with or that high level varnish that just stinks. So yeah, that is the board. And again, like I say, if you see or ride or demo something and you've got like a Sunday or something similar, and you're like, I really wish that was like whatever, or a bit thinner, or a bit whatever, you can't get the combination of fins that you want, maybe go and speak to someone. There might be a local guy that can help you out. And you look at some of my videos as well, because you only need to know so much. Like, I've done a whole guide on how to measure the rocker, the foil, the width at the important points and everything, so it's not crazy hard to have that because I mean, you've got to leave the shapers some license to do their shaping, because that's what they do, and you can't give people things down to the nth millimeter. They've got to make the curve work. But you can speak to a guy and say, hey, I had this board I really liked that I demoed. It was like 3 inches thick, but the tail was really narrow. And he said, what was the tail measurement? To say 12 inches up, you measure the tail and say that was like 14, and the shaper might go, well, let's go for something around 16, so it's got a bit more glide for you. And then you might say like, I was really still struggling to duck dive, and he might say, well, this thing got a 18 or 20 nose, and he might say, let's tuck it into something that looks a bit more like this, and then you'll be able to duck dive it, but we can give you a bit more thickness to make up for it, and then you can get the fin setup that suits you. So don't be afraid of speaking to people about customs. So another good way to do it is go to someone like Tommy Dalton, that's got the entire Lost catalogue, and you can pick a model. And if there isn't one, there should probably be one that works for you in the dims that you want anyway. But you can say to him, make me a 7-foot party crasher with an extra 1/4 of an inch of thickness in it. Or you can say, can you make me a whatever with just a slightly wider tail, or can you make me that but in a swallowtail? And he'll do that for you. And he's so repeatable with his shapes in these glass jobs that, you know, if you were 99% of the way there and it's a magic board and you wanted to replicate it again, or you wanted to just change something slightly, or you wanted to add a rocker and add a bit more rocker and go on a trip with something similar, Tommy's one of the best guys for actually replicating. Anyone that's got a CNC machine and all the programs from known shapers makes life pretty easy. So let's take you through the bottom contours on this shape of mine. So I've kept it pretty simple. We're up at the nose here, so we've got a single concave coming in from the nose. Hope you can see all that all right. And that should ideally get deepest as it goes to where your front foot's going to be, which is probably kind of around halfway through the board on the mid-length, to be honest. So you can probably hopefully see that through there. And then as we get down towards where we're going into the fins, so we're just getting down the board here now, you can see that that single there is turned into a double. So you've got two barrels there, you should be able to see. So you got the single here, starts transitioning into a double there. So you should be able to see the two. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. So you can see the two little humps there. So singles fading out, and then we start going into a double just as we get through the fins, and that double becomes a V with the double running inside it. So you can see the V as it starts to rock off the tail there, and then that V should be deepest kind of through the center fin stroke back fins. And then I just like to just kind of flatten it off again as we come out the back there, basically. So let's go back through the other way, and hopefully the vision's on that's pretty good. I'll just check the yep, that looks pretty good. So as you can see, you got the V and double there. You can see the rock, and then as we go through here, we're now in front of the front fins, and that V's almost gone, and you just got double, and then that double just blends out into the single, and off we go down towards the middle of the board where I want it to be deepest, and then it starts tapering off towards the nose. So yeah, so that's it. Just kept it fairly simple on there. As you can see, I've still got to finish it off, but you can get an idea of, like, you know, the rails are quite nice and chunky. Just a normal modern low rail. Plenty of tuck, plenty of what we call tuck up in the front. So tuck is the roll over here. So nice and smooth, won't catch on anything. Lots of roll in that rail, and we should get that nice sharp. Try and get that nice sharp finish on the edge, which I like to have. Like, it should still be rounded a little bit in front of the front fins, and then it goes hard as it goes through the back and off where you want the board to release. So your proper hard edge should almost be like behind the front things, I believe. But say I'm no expert, so cheers guys.